Hello and welcome to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
Weather's fine, isn't it?
Thankfully the weather is fine for our episode here today now about Twisters. We are a nice calm day, so luckily we're not doing this in the middle of a storm. Before we get into that, as always, you've got a trailer of the week for us.
I do.
What you got?
I got Captain America Brave New World.
Okay, so this trailer's come out in the last 2 weeks. We didn't do one obviously last week or the week before with our retrospective episodes, so catching up a little bit here. But Captain America Brave New World.
Yeah. I'll throw in Gladiator 2.
Do 2. Okay, catching up on 2.
Well, I'm throwing the 2 in because I want to get on record what your initial opinions were when I first asked you, because we're both opposite on it. Where I thought when I watched the Gladiator 2 trailer, I thought, okay, please hoping that this Ridley Scott epic period drama with swords and sandals and horses and fighting, and instead of tigers, it's rhinoceroses. I would not want a Jay-Z Usher contemporary rap, hip-hop, trap piece of music played in the trailer. I would want a score. You know, I'm not going to watch a Star Wars trailer or an Oppenheimer trailer and expect Bruce Springsteen or Elton John or Rolling Stones piece of music playing over it. No, you want the score. Listen to a current piece of music just took me out of it. It took me out of the seriousness of the trailer. Similar to what they tried to do with the Napoleon trailer, with also another Ridley Scott movie. You think with these and Exodus, it played Belfast Child with one of their trailers as well. You think it's like the marketing studios have a limited number of copyright songs they can use in the trailers, and just throw that one in. And so I as much as I like Denzel and of course Pedro and of course a distaste in excluding Jaimon Hanzu, I'll be okay. I hope it's good. You know, I'm already less enthusiastic because it doesn't have Barry Keoghan in it. But I suppose that propels Joseph Quinn then. But the Captain America trailer, I liked an awful lot because it reminded me of the Winter Soldier. It reminded me of the conspiracy espionage, the hand-to-hand combat, physical fighting that it would take for Sam Wilson to save the day. And I don't know what that entails. It somehow includes a Red Hulk, something fans have theorized we will get at some point, and I guess February is when we get it. And I welcome that. I'm curious to see how this plays out, especially for not only a character and actor who needs to prove himself as not only a leading man, but to warrant him be called Captain America. And I like how the trailer was edited together. I did think it feels like a Disney Plus show, but you could argue that's because we've seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we've seen a few characters from that show pop up here. And it doesn't take me out whatsoever that Harrison Ford is playing Thunderbolt Ross. They obviously want to use that character, and it's not a big takeaway for audiences to identify that is not the same actor previously played, whereas it would have with T'Challa, because they didn't even recast him, they just moved him out altogether. So I dug the trailer for Captain America Brave New World, and I'll sometimes forget to call it that because it doesn't feel like Captain America, but it does feel like a fresh take and a little bit of a breath of fresh air for the MCU. It just has to be good, David. It can't be mediocre, it has to be good. But I still like the trailer more than the Gladiator. What do you think?
I think that the use of the music in the Gladiator trailer fit it perfectly. I think that obviously a trailer is going to be different from the film. I think that your complaints about the trailer would be warranted if it was the movie itself. I'm not expecting to hear any kind of contemporary music within Gladiator 2, but the actual song itself, it's not like it's just any old song. It's the song, like, you know, the lyrics are, you know, what is it? What's a god to a king? Or what's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer? Like, it fits kind of that, the...
Thematically, yes, I'll agree. But it still doesn't fit.
I think it fits. I think
it doesn't.
And no, I think that but I know that I'm in the minority of this because I know that there's been a lot of complaining online about the contemporary song. So I know I'm in the minority. I think that it fits perfectly. I think it's fine. I wouldn't expect to hear any contemporary songs within the film itself.
Mm-hmm. And I'll agree, it is only the trailer, but it's the trailer I'm talking about.
I think it does.
The trailer, I don't like. I know the trailer completely. It took out the epic out of Gladiator.
I don't know. I just disagree. But that's fine for us to disagree.
That's okay. On. Some people can be wrong. It's lonely being right.
I know it is.
But you didn't like the Captain America: Brave New World.
But I think it's because it does still feel like a Disney Plus show. I think it's because I've only seen Sam Wilson in the context of being Captain America on Disney Plus. I've not seen him in the grander scale. Now, I went back and rewatched the trailer and I liked it more the second time. I think I was a bit more like, I think I nearly flippantly watched it the first time where I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll watch it. Like it's not something that I'm looking forward to, or I'm not anticipating it. I'm looking forward to other Marvel things more.
Yeah.
You know, with Fantastic Four coming out next year, I'm more excited for that, and that hasn't even started filming yet. So
Jesus, that's kind of scary.
I know, isn't it?
that has not filmed yet, and we've got a trailer for another MCU movie that's coming out quite soon. Think about it, like February. Well,
I was looking at the release schedule. It's interesting to go this year. It's a bit of a tangent now. Go this year from Deadpool and Wolverine. That's going to be it. To next year on the slate is going to be Captain America, then Thunderbolts, then Fantastic Four, then Blade.
I think Thunderbolts is later in the year.
No, I was looking back through the thing. We're going to get those four anyway next year.
I'm very much excited for Thunderbolts. I think Thunderbolts
is May.
Really?
Yeah, it's Captain America February, Thunderbolts in May, Fantastic Four in July or August, and then Blade in November.
We are not getting Blade in November.
Yeah, no, I think that's... Well, at the moment, that's what the slate looks like, but...
So did Horizon Chapter 2.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. But we're not here today to talk about the MCU.
No, we're talking about the Irish weather.
We're talking about twisters. So
tornadoes.
They
never called them twisters.
Did they?
No, they always called them tornadoes.
Yeah, well, that's what they are.
But it's called twisters.
Yeah, I know, but that's the tornadoes.
Twisters is that alien in MIB2 with the game Twisters.
Fucking hell. Twisters, a legacy sequel that has no connection.
Oh, okay. Forgive me for jumping to conclusions without you finishing the answer. How rude of me.
It was rude. It was quite rude.
It was very rude.
Don't know if we can continue the podcast now, can we?
Oh, Glen Powell.
Yeah, fair enough. You brought me back in here. So it's a legacy sequel that has no connection really to the first one.
In a script before it was shot, it could have. Mm-hmm. Because when they revealed Daisy Edgar-Jones' character's mother coming out of the darkness, you're fully expecting Helen Hunt. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a version of the script where that is literally the case, where Helen Hunt is the mother.
We'll talk about that in the flashback section.
Okay.
A little bit of sizzle there.
Okay. But yes, you said that the only connection to it, aside from the tornadoes, was the Dorothy.
Yeah, the actual piece of weather equipment. Because in the original films, there's Dorothy 1 to 4 that are used throughout the film and destroyed, and then this one has Daisy Edgar-Jones and her friends using Dorothy 5.
So there's been no twisters and tornadoes in between the two movies?
I would assume that this is... Yeah, actually, do you know what? That's a good point, that why are they going straight from 4 to 5? But...
And why them? They're college students.
Yeah, I guess maybe they just got access to it. I don't know. That's never explained. It's just one of those little, like...
You're thinking about it too much, David.
I am thinking about it too much. It's just one of those nice little collections. Like, maybe if... You're right. Maybe if the Roman numerals had been a little bit later, because, what is it, 1990s to 2020s, you would hope that they would have used this equipment once or twice more, at least. Or maybe this Dorothy 5 just never got destroyed. Maybe it was just used and was able to be reused again and again.
Maybe. This cast had a youth-riddled number of them, didn't it?
That's I think one of the benefits of it not being a legacy sequel. It's not held down by any returning characters or anything like that. It's just a fresh face cast of young ones.
All fresh faces, ripe and ready for MCU or Star Wars collections. Literally so.
I think one at least is going to be MCU-ified, that being Anthony Ramos. I'm pretty sure he's playing the villain in the upcoming Ironheart series.
Is he a villain?
As far as I'm aware,
I know he's in it, but he hasn't come out yet. And that's been filmed, but that's not going to be released until 2025 because Marvel overdid themselves. But yes, there is another character played by Sasha Lane. She's in Loki.
Who's Sasha Lane?
She is the one with the drone, with the goggles and the long braided hair. She's one of Glen Powell's crew.
Yes.
Shit.
And then Katie O'Brien. She's also in Star Wars. She's an Imperial, one of the Imperials. So the secondary cast has very much been
yes, that's true.
Star Wars and MCU-ified,
and a douchebag Superman.
Yes, we got David Cornsweet. This is, I think, the first film now I've seen of his where I'm aware this is our Superman. So I'm kind of looking at him in a slightly different light. I'd seen him in Pearl before, but I hadn't copped that was him.
Yeah.
So I wasn't watching it for that. And it's great to see him appearing in this film, not anywhere near what Superman will be.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a dickhead, all right.
He's more than a dickhead. He's not even the type who has something of a redemption arc. No, he ends with mud being thrown in his face.
Yeah.
Like he's a proper tool.
He's very much just working to the benefit of the benefactors, and I heard this was family owned, so I'm going to pass around our business card, because the villains of the movie, of course, are just buying up land in the wake of these tornadoes.
Yeah, no, there's no other way to go about it. The twisters can't be enough. You need
to have a human villain. You can't have just force of nature.
Yeah,
which is something interesting, because that's kind of what the original film is. There is no human villain. It is just chasing these tornadoes and these forces of nature.
Isn't there another guy?
There's Cary Elwes.
Yeah.
He is a rival, but there's no villainy or these are the bad guys or anything like that. It's just very much like in the same way that our characters with Daisy Edgar-Jones and Anthony Ramos, the fact that they are like the scientists.
Yeah.
And then Glen Powell comes in and he's like the
rival.
The rival, yeah, at the start, and then obviously they become allies.
Yeah. Very
much just, they stay rivals within the original Twister film.
Putting a spin on it, David.
Putting a bit of a twist on it, alright, yeah. It's an interesting change of pace, because that original film, it's non-stop. You're introduced to characters, and there's at no point where we leave the characters, or there's a change of day or anything like that. It's very much, now that it changes day, but we are with the characters the entire time, through the day, through the night, through the day again.
Yeah.
Whereas this takes place over a significant amount of time.
A week.
Well, a week before we have the time jump at the start.
That's just like one sequence.
One sequence at the start, but
one trauma of a sequence, I might say. I felt the loss when I looked at the cast. Daryl McCormick, Kieran Shipka, that other guy, they all die in the opening sequence. There's a bit of talent right there. You've got Sabrina from Netflix. You've got Leo Grande.
I'm sure lots of people know Leo Grande.
You didn't see Good Luck to You, Leo Grande?
I know of it, but
well, he's Leo Grande. He's Irish. He's going to be in Wake Up Dead Man.
Interesting, okay.
It is interesting. They're dead. I thought at least you knew he was going to die because she kissed him.
Yeah,
but
as soon as she kissed him, I was like, "That's him gone," because we can't have a romantic relationship between her and Glen Powell if there's a boyfriend in the picture.
To follow up on that, I thought I was a little. Well, I didn't want Kieran Shipka to die. The other guy, he got lifted up very casual, like yeah, bye bye, Jonathan Kent, but not a traditional love relationship, romantic relationship with Glen Powell and Daisy Edgar-Jones.
No, definitely not. It's very much
You pointed out that they don't kiss.
Yeah, I saw behind the scenes where they do kiss, so there is an alternative take at the end where they do kiss, but it's very much just kind of slow build up of a relationship.
Yeah.
Because there is even at that end where she leaves
Yeah.
and she says, you know, if you feel it, chase it. Like, kind of, they haven't had any kind of a romantic scenario yet. And she kind of like puts that on him, twists his own thing and says, if you think there's something here, come after me.
Yeah.
You know?
Come and get it.
Come and get it. And I'm glad that he did. I felt a bit of a spark between them. Now, that could just be Glen Powell, because that guy, he's got chemistry with anybody.
Oh, you see that jawline, man? That jawline works with Sydney Sweeney. It works with Daisy Edgar-Jones. It works with Andor's best friend because she's in Hitman.
Oh, yeah, yes. I was wondering for a second there.
And it works with Tom Cruise and Miles Teller.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It works with anybody.
Yeah.
It works with a football. You know, I just feel like
when he rocks up in that Jeep just playing country and western music, all these gadgets and mechanical devices on his vehicle with his team, his hillbilly team, but it turns out they're not the type of redneck hillbillies you're expecting to think when you're on the side of the scientists. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be on their side, but you realize, this side is with the PhDs and the fancy tech. They're supposed to be the bad guys. And Anthony Ramos his arc is to realize the error of his ways and to not save people by getting rich. You go save people. Literally what Glen Powell's Tyler Owens is doing. And yeah, you can go chase a storm and let off a few fireworks. I'm sure that's how you stop a tornado. After a couple of chases, you're full of the octane rush, the adrenaline of the sequences. You forget to realize, these actually have devastating tragedies. On the town and the homeowners that are living in. And so you're reminded of that. And when you just hear Glen Powell whistling, you know he's whistling for a dog. And Daisy Edgar-Jones is watching his crew set up shop, and she thinks they're selling stuff for money, but actually no, they're giving away for free, and they're giving away for food. And that was a nice, subtle, but effective way to show that these guys who we're supposed to not root for because they're not on the team of our protagonist, maybe we should be following them. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
She joins them in the end, and that's what we get out of them. And he does find a dog. They're
painted in the way that you kind of, not that they're villains or anything like that, but that they're lesser than the scientists, because
but when they get one up, like when they do succeed in the tornado chase, you're not like they're like, it's like fucking Draco Malfoy getting something over Harry and the gang. And I'm not saying he's like Draco Malfoy. I just pulled something out of thin air. I'm sure there's a far better example out there somewhere. For time constraints, you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, but they're painted as this kind of, they're lesser than, because they're not as smart, and they're just doing it for the fun of it and the enjoyment.
And subscribers,
yeah, because they're painted as, we're doing this for YouTube views, we're selling our merchandise, all this stuff. But like you said there, later on, or they're even like, they're shooting fireworks up into a tornado, like just stuff that is genuinely like, what are they doing? But at the same time, it does look genuinely fun. It's shot in such a way that you're like, yeah, that's what, that's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna go chase with them.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than the Poindexters.
Yeah, and that's what this movie does. It's like, you don't run away from storms; you go straight to them.
And then they turn around and, these guys are not only having fun, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're helping out in these crises, because while the tornadoes are painted in this, let's chase them, let's wrangle some tornadoes, and yeehaw, chasing them, having fun, yeehaw, American dream, then you immediately see the aftermath, and you see this woman that's like just picking up the mugs and putting them in a thing as her whole house is taken apart and destroyed. It's gone asunder. It's absolutely, there's nothing left. And you're like, oh wow, no, this isn't fun. This is, for a lot of people, this is devastating. And then you see that the characters that we were thought to be just, mindless chasing tornadoes, they're the ones with the heart of gold. They're the ones that they're selling their merch to people that can afford it, to supply these other people that have lost everything, giving them food, water, clothing, everything they need.
And their supposed douchebag, the journalist, who's
I never saw him as a douchebag at all.
I saw him as a potential profile type of douchebag.
That he would paint
Because-
the team in a negative light or something.
Yes, but because he's going around all this disaster for the sake of his story, you know? Tell me that that's not a vague character description for someone to become someone you don't want to be around. Because he would go... It's like an come on, help me out, David.
No, I disagree with you.
No,
That's
but in the end, he throws away his camera and his notebook, and he actually goes and helps people. He does that.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, that he starts out as a...
Potential.
He starts out as a non-active member within the group, that he is just observing.
He's British.
Yeah, that he doesn't come from this world.
That's one step away from being an empire.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, but no, they do away with that and make the other guy who, in another universe, would have been the perfect hot guy to play the male lead. But I think David Corswet comes across as a great asshole. Like,
yeah,
his hair is too dark. He's too white. He's tall. He's perfect for Superman.
Well, I've got good news for you. I have to say though, like you said, well, like you're saying there with David Cornswet, you know, in another universe, I think that within this universe that we're in, Glen Powell, perfect leading man. I think he just exudes that kind of classic Hollywood energy, that movie star-ness. There's at no point where I've seen him where I don't enjoy watching him.
Did you enjoy watching him in The Expendables 3?
I'm not talking about that Glen Powell. I'm talking about movie star Glen
Oh, you're
Powell.
talking about...
I'm talking
you're
about
talking
leading
about,
man.
You're talking
Glen Powell.
about since Top Gun.
I'm talking about leading man Glen Powell. I'm talking about since Set It Up. Okay?
Set it up?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No.
No, him and... What's her name? Zoe Dutch.
Oh.
That...
Dutch.
Yeah, the leading man energy, just having chemistry with everyone, having just this kind of look about him, like a cheeky smile, like that you can see him in a film at the start of the year with Sydney Sweeney where he seems like a regular dude, and then you see him in a movie like Hitman where he's playing a nerd who then turns into the titular hitman and going through all of these disguises, and then you see him in this where he is literally like, I'm a tornado wrangler, you know, literally tipping the cowboy hat, walking in the rain, white t-shirt, like just completely different styles, but yet they all fit him so well.
Didn't I say it was a young Matt Damon who reminded me when I watched Glen Powell in Hitman?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how when I watch Glen Powell, I just immediately think of another veteran actor. When he played Hangman in Top Gun, he's Val
Kilmer.
Iceman. And in Twisters, who does he embody? Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can just maybe throw George Clooney or some other hot romantic type of person in the likes of Anyone But You. George Clooney or Matthew McConaughey, but he's the it guy now.
Yeah.
He's the go-to guy, and he appears to be doing very well financially in terms of the movies he's in. So
I'm happy for him. I'm glad. I really just enjoy watching him.
Telling you, man, Spy Kids 3 did
He did him the world of good.
Yeah, world of good.
Do you want to jump into some flashbacks before we go any further?
Please.
Laura, play that jingle first. Thank you, Laura. So, some flashbacks for Twisters. So, flashback number 1. No character from the original Twister returns in this movie. The only connection is the mention of Dorothy, the research device, which in turn inspires the protagonists to name their machines Tin Man, Lion, Scarecrow, and Wizard.
The Twisters made a return. The Twisters, the revenge.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
It's the spawn of the original Twister.
You think it's... I was expecting to see the same cow. The cow that was taken by one of the Twisters. I thought there would be a joke about that, but...
A joke? You wanted to see a poor cow being tornadoed in the sky. The poor animal. What's wrong with you?
I think it's funny.
What?
I just think that's funny. You don't think... I think seeing... Within a Twister, just seeing something that shouldn't be there. a cow, one of those things.
I'd lose sleep if I saw that.
You don't lose sleep when you have a burger.
No, I'm full. I'm rested. That's how I sleep.
It's interesting to have a legacy sequel where there's no returning characters. Do you know of any off the top of your head that are in a similar vein? Because the likes of, Star Wars or Blade Runner, or what's another legacy sequel that we had recently?
I have one, and I don't know if you're going to let me apply it.
Go ahead.
But I think it's justified. That it counts.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Brody's Predators.
No
returning characters. A slight mention of
No,
the
I'm
original.
not counting that.
No?
No, it's a franchise. No, it's not.
My podcast too. I can do what I want.
Yeah, but I wouldn't count that because that's like a reinvigoration because then it's like, is the Predator the Shane Black one that came out?
No, not that one.
No, but then is that a legacy sequel
Yeah, it is.
to Predators?
And the original.
Yeah. So,
But I'm not counting the Predator with Shane Black. I'm counting the Adrian Brody one that came out in 2013.
no, I wouldn't count that.
No?
No.
Well, then would you count Evil Dead Rise?
As a legacy sequel?
Take your time. No, really, don't take your time. Like, we're under time constraints. Yeah?
Yeah, I would.
You would count it?
Yeah.
Well, then there's no reason why you shouldn't count Predators.
I think with Predators, it's because it's more of a franchise with a capital F.
But Twisters is now a franchise. And didn't Twisters have a sequel released later in between? Like, something of an unofficial sequel?
I don't think so.
No?
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
thought I heard that somewhere. Like,
No.
like it was a B-movie type.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm counting Predators, and since you counted Evil Dead Rise, that gives me justification to count it. Yeah, man, it's simple math, man. I don't lie.
Fair enough, okay. If you don't lie, that's fine. Flashback number 2. This marks the second time Glen Powell starred in a sequel released decades after its predecessor, after Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Anyone But You.
No. What's Anyone But You a sequel to? The original Shakespeare play?
Is it not?
No, it's an original
Did
film.
they die in the end?
Of Anyone But You?
Yeah.
No, it's a romantic comedy.
So's Romeo and Juliet. That's a Shakespeare play, is it not?
You're being cheeky now. You're being cheeky.
What?
Flashback number 3.
Spinning me out of control here.
Like a twister.
Oh, I get it. Come on, David, let's go.
Flashback number 3. In an interview with IndieWire, director Lee Isaac Chung confirms that it is the same world as the original Twister, and that Dr. Joe Harding, played by Helen Hunt, is alive chasing tornadoes. This is a quote now. He said, "I imagined, what is Joe Harding up to now? She's out there chasing storms, not at a farm complaining that her daughter's not calling her." And so that was really the basis of why it had to be someone else.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you say
Fuck
that again?
me, okay.
No. I was listening, but I didn't.
I was listening, it's just that the words weren't going in. So, the director said, for those of you that were listening, thank you for listening. Brian, I'll explain it for you again.
I represent.
So the director said that he envisioned Helen Hunt's character is still out there chasing storms. She wouldn't be a mother complaining that her daughter's not calling her. So that's why it's not her in that she's not playing Daisy Edgar-Jones' his mother.
Two things. That's okay. But they wrote it like that. Mm-hmm. They wrote the mother to be in a position where her daughter doesn't call and she therefore complains. You can write any other thing about that. It's just they folded on that, and I suppose it justifies because of the tragedy she faced of losing her friends from the start. Mm-hmm. But I praise this movie for not being tied down to the norms and traditions of what a legacy sequel does these days. Mm-hmm. And, oh, look, jangle some shiny keys, the return of a character who's from the original movie. Mm-hmm. But I won't lie, I did watch this movie and thought, is she a supporting character from the original movie? Because she's definitely not Helen Hunt. I was going to lean over to ask you, is that Helen Hunt? Because I haven't seen the original in forever, but I knew that wasn't her. But that's interesting. But then again, you can just say whatever you want when it's not in your movie. Mm-hmm. You can literally say, yeah, Bill Paxton's character is still out there chasing tornadoes. Mm-hmm. But it's not as if they could ever revisit that because he passed away, actually quite young, which is a shame. And as a result, you can bring her back, but I don't see this movie getting a sequel. I think we get a third Top Gun before we would get this. And I think that given how so much fans of this now franchise praise Bill Paxton in such high regard, especially in relation to Tornadoes, I don't know why. I don't see his character being recast by anyone.
No. I don't think, like, was there anyone that was really calling out for a sequel to Twister? I don't think so. There's not many that were. We need a sequel to this. It's just like here's a concept that we had in the 90s. Let's just do it again, but for a new audience and with new characters.
Intellectual property.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking the name that we know.
Yeah, the
Twister.
IP.
We're sticking an S on the end. We're just telling a new story. There's no need for it to be another one. Like, we could easily 15 years from now get a Twisters 3, and that's all it would be in name is Twisters 3, because what are you going to say again? You can't do Twisterers.
It'll be Twisters Quantum Mania.
Twisters Quantum Mania. But we get another one where it's just about tornadoes again, no connection to Glen Powell's character or Daisy Edgar-Jones, and we just get a new set of characters that are chasing new tornadoes.
Just let them move on.
We'll talk about this after the flashback section, but I like the disaster movie genre. But we'll talk about it now in a sec. Hold on. Laura, play us out of here. Thank you, Laura. What I really like about Twisters is that it's a big, small-scale disaster movie. And by that I mean, it's not world-ending stakes. It's not the apocalypse is coming, or it's like 2012 where the world is cracking open and it's going to be destroyed and everyone is going to die. It's very much just these tornadoes are ruining this small town, or there's a chance that the characters that we're following are going to get sucked up into it and die. You know, it's big stakes for the characters themselves, but small stakes in the grand scheme of the world.
I concur.
I think that these kind of disaster movies are more enjoyable than those bigger stakes ones, because sometimes the bigger stakes ones, the stakes can be too big. It's unquantifiable. It's, oh, the world is going to end.
I think we've just been combobulated with them now. Like, there was a Gerard Butler one just there recently called Greenland. Yeah, and that's getting a sequel. So I think this is not just a nice fresh breath of fresh air. It's a very well paced and well told story, and the characters are great, the actors are great, and I think the biggest takeaway is the pacing. Because you have the start where the disaster of their friends, and then you have the coming back chasing the first tornado and they lose because Tyler Owen's got it, and then they chase another one. That's when the twin sequence happens, and then she makes the made decision, and they get the tornadoes to they wrangle the tornadoes, whereas Tyler Owens and his team realize, son of a gun, should have followed her. And then the next scene is when, okay, nice plateau, enjoy the moment, have a relaxation, watch the Buffalo show after the going through the tragedy of the town. And then in comes another tornado when they're unprepared for it, not when they have to chase it. No, they need to run and hide and survive. And that's the first scene where we feel a little fear for the characters, because they're shared survival, because they survive it. And that's when we see Tyler Owens. He's actually scared. That actually, the one scene where the trailer is towering over them and they're all in the empty pool, and they're all holding on to something. You know what that reminded me of? The Universal ride.
I've not been on it, so I
couldn't. It's okay. I have.
Yeah, okay.
but that's because you're in a confined space. You're covered with the screen with the actors and nothing else, and you just feel the vibrations. If you're in 4DX, you will feel it. And I thought that was a very good scene. And then afterwards, she goes home, has a revelation, and then hooks up with him and his team, and then they go wrangle the tornadoes. And not even that, they try to save the town, and she wrangles the tornado and then saves the day. I'm sure that's exactly how you can dissolve a tornado. That's
Maybe.
Yeah, that's the science of it.
In movie science, yeah.
Oh, movie science.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Not real science.
No. Well,
fireworks won't do the job.
Fireworks was just. I think the fireworks were just. Can you shoot fireworks into a tornado?
All right.
They weren't ever trying to dissolve a tornado.
They were just going into.
They were just going into it. Drive into it. We'll drill into the ground so we don't fly away and just be in a tornado.
Look, that's a good representation of what people want in terms of likes. Mm-hmm. Not doing the right thing, but doing the one thing that will draw eyes to screens. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting, actually. Very interesting. I was about to say something else, but I completely forgot.
That's all right. What I really liked about that rodeo scene was the fact that it just changed the perspective on how we view the characters and how we view the tornadoes. Because up until that point, we've been following, obviously, our main characters as they go and chase the tornadoes themselves. Whereas now they are put in a position where they are the victims of the tornado and they are outrunning it. They're trying to get away from it. Whereas every other time they've been chasing the tornadoes, trying to see it and study it. Whereas now we're seeing the devastating effects of it, how scary it is to be a victim of the tornado.
Yeah.
And how there's nothing you can do. Like
it's good that you're contributing to the point I made a minute ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a fucking conversation. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just saying it it was really good to see it as that they're victims, that they're no longer in the position of power over the tornadoes.
Yeah,
because these forces of nature.
This is not something that you can punch and defeat.
Exactly. Yeah.
You need to open a couple of barrels of drums and let white mist go up. Because as much as they talked about the logistics and science words in this movie, I never paid attention because I couldn't.
There's no point in it. It's just like take it as it comes.
I don't know what it means. I don't know what any of it means. Like I can't even think of the words they use to describe when they're looking at a 3D hologram on their laptop or talking about the logistics of what they're doing. I just show me what you're doing, and that'll do enough. But I thought the humor worked in it, especially with Glen Powell, with the hand finger twirling. It's quite funny with that.
They bounced off each other really well.
They bounced off each other really well. I liked Anthony Ramos quite a bit. It's strange that you'd forget he was the leading man in the last Transformers movie.
I was thinking that actually, as it was happening. I was like, wow, it's funny to go from leading man to third build. Yeah,
but hey, that's just the way it goes. There's a lot of actors out there.
Yeah,
and I should have saved this for the flash fact, but this just reminded me in the pool scene. That funny sequence where Glen Powell and Daisy Edgar-Jones come in and they're trying to warn everyone it's a tornado, and it says, no, it's a false alarm. 9 times out of 10 there's no tornado. And then in comes the alarm through the window. There's a tornado. And there's this one douchebag who's complaining that the service here sucks, the TV's out, there's no electricity. And it's just a nice funny moment. That guy, Bill Paxton's son.
I know. I read about it in the flashbacks. I chose not to say it.
Why did you choose not to say it?
Because I knew you'd come up. I knew you'd say it.
What?
I just knew.
You knew?
I know you so well.
You know me
I knew
so
that
well.
you'd bring it up anyway. But yeah, Bill Paxton's son, just as a little bit of an homage to him, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose that was nice. That truck of him in it, with a female passenger just getting lifted up into the sky, really puts to shame Jonathan Kent's demise in 2013's Man of Steel. So there's a tie in there somehow with Superman because David Cornsweet. He'd know the cracks. Yeah, my dad died in a tornado. Yeah, I get the crack.
No, that won't happen to him. That won't happen to David Cornsweet.
I guess I call him Cornsweet when it's actually Cornsweet. Does he have 2 E's in his surname?
To be honest with you, that's one that we won't agree on because I don't know either.
Right.
I call him Sweet, but you call him Sweat. But
while you continue the discussion of that, I'm going to look that up.
Okay, good. Well, I wanted to ask you, what was your favourite tornado sequence within the film?
My favourite tornado? My favourite tornado sequence was, I feel quick to say, one where Glen Powell was commanding the scene. In terms of fun, so whether that's the one where he throws the fireworks in, or maybe the one at the end, but that's not something to look at fun. That's a climax one. I like the one that was at the rodeo, because that's the fear of the tornado, you know. That's the one where, so I actually don't know, because then I could say the first one as well, where we actually have consequences, because something that I generally do like in my TV and movies, I like to see some consequences. I want to see character deaths. But throughout this movie, aside from the opening sequence where we lose 3 people, and throughout the movie, of course, we have a few red shirts, people we don't know, or
nameless civilians,
civilians who just get lifted up to Kingdom Come. None of the named characters die, and I am actually happy with that. I don't want this lower tier disaster movie to end on a note where named characters die in the present timeline, because in the opening, it's 5 years later. Time has moved on. Yeah, come on, like, she's doing another boyfriend and all, but I'm happy that none of the characters died. Not even douchebag Superman. I don't want that. I don't want that on my conscience. I think I'm happy that this movie ends and all the characters get to continue their lives happy and knowing that they have their buddies and their friends and their teams and their former associate douchebags still alive out there, because this movie treats loss of life a little delicately, whereas movies like 2012 or The Day After Tomorrow or some whatever other movies, when they deal with that, it's very like grand scale from a heightened perspective. So many named civilians, people died, and even a lot of named characters die, and it's too much. It's like why I wouldn't want any of the named characters in Inception die, but maybe that's a poor example, but that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, so I'm happy that none of the characters died in the consequences. But I suppose that leads me to ask you 2 questions. What was your favourite tornado sequence, and why did you prefer to have at least one named character die?
I think my favourite was probably the last tornado, but at the start when it became a fire tornado. There was so many points throughout the film where it kind of gets you. It kind of like, the best way I can describe it is like you really relate to Tyler Owens, because there was a few times where I was literally like, I really just want to go like, yeah, whoa, yeehaw, like you kind of get caught up in it. And one of those moments at the end was when the tornado became a fire tornado, where I was like, fuck yeah, this is cool, and although
it didn't do much though.
It was a fire tornado. When have you ever seen a fire tornado before?
Twisters.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first time you've seen it. It's like you've seen, the wind tornado, and tornadoes are scary enough. But then when you're sitting there and you're like, holy shit, it's on fire. That is just a really cool spectacle to see. That's why I really enjoyed it.
It didn't move beyond the facility.
That's fine. I don't need to all of a sudden it becomes this out of control fire tornado that is chasing them, and oh no, we're going to get sucked up into the fire tornado. It can just be in that one moment where you see it visually on fire. That's cool.
Okay.
Just let me have the cool moment.
It's a cool moment.
But I think I would have liked to see some named characters die, because I would want the consequences to... I just wanted the consequences to feel like it hit a little bit more at home. Because although we see scenes where towns have been destroyed and homes have been destroyed and people have been displaced, it doesn't really affect our main characters at all, beyond Daisy Edgar-Jones and her friends dying at the beginning. So if it had been someone that had been lost from Tyler's team, then it would have been really like just a kind of really drive it home that these are dangerous. This may be something that we do for fun and for YouTube likes and views and stuff like that, but there are consequences to this danger that we're doing. It really kind of would drive home the do not try this at home kind of thing, that they maybe were like, we're professionals, we're tornado wranglers,
Okay. Where would you think a member of his team could die, and who would you have picked? Because I don't think there is any right moment where one of his team would die and the movie remains the same scene-wise. Because when after they leave his mother's, you know, and he gives her the shirt and he's all serious about giving his mother the shirt. He was very proud of that. I thought it was a funny moment. But he meets up with his team again and they're reconnecting, re-establishing the plan. He goes to his buddy, hey, and he's upset because he abandoned him because he went to see Daisy Edgar-Jones. And then if one of them died at the end in the final climax, well then we needed a scene of that. But like, if this is one of his team, this is one of the members of his family, one scene ain't gonna cut that for me to show the remorse. You know, one scene's not gonna cut that for me. And if you did it at the start of the movie before the rodeo scene, well then what's the point?
I would have done it within the rodeo scene.
So you would have had a character there?
I would have had, one of the characters die. I think maybe the older man.
Yeah.
I think he would have fit the bill of, like, I think serve as the character, like, oh no, that's how we would have wanted to go out as well. You know, like, that although it would affect Tyler and his team, it wouldn't, like, deter them from continuing to do it. You know, like, no, he would have wanted to go, that's how I want to go out, or something like that. I'm not going to rewrite the whole movie, but I would have done it within the rodeo scene, just to show, like, that they are victims, that, you know, they are victims themselves as well. It's not just that they're chasing it, or like, because it couldn't have happened in any of the other scenes, I don't think.
No, it couldn't have. But well placed, I think. I'll give you the bravo for that. But
I also agree with you that, like, it maybe in the film that we got, it wouldn't have fit to have all of a sudden just like a funeral scene or something like that, or like just bog it down. But I think I would have liked just for a little bit more of a consequence to his team. That being maybe the older gentleman, the older man.
I don't think I would have gotten anything out of it if he did die. So I'm just happy to have him there, and everyone lives happily ever after. I'm content with that. But it's Dave and Corin Sweat.
Oh, it's Sweat. Okay, you were waiting. Okay, listen. Okay, that's fine. You can have that one. I'll call it Sweat from now on.
Did you know that the guy who shouted twins? We got twins. That's the guy he's in Nope.
I did know that, actually. Yeah.
Yep. I just randomly threw that in because
just throw it in.
Yeah, because I tell you, man, ripe and ready for Star Wars and MCU films. I'm telling you,
you're mad to get all these guys in
I
major
just
franchises.
think it's very interesting. I think it's an interesting collection of actors and performers in a movie, because Glen Powell is the villain name in terms of popularity, and Daisy Edgar-Jones, she's slowly getting up there, especially since Normal People. And Anthony Ramos is quite famous enough as well, but he's in a few blockbusters and stuff like that. But I just think it was a nice, interesting collection of actors is all. You know, clouds are getting real dark out there.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
That's all right. I don't have anything much more else to say. You got a recommendation for us before we go?
I do.
Go for it.
I just finished watching the finale episode of a 3-season show on Netflix that did not get cancelled.
Thank God.
Foreshadow, maybe.
For a few weeks from now. Months even.
I finally got to watch the finale episode of Sweet Tooth.
Oh yes, this is the
Robert Downey Jr. That's twice now we've done it.
Yeah, well, we're in sync. We're like twins. We got twins.
I watched that show Sweet Tooth, and I kind of thought, oh, please don't get cancelled when the first season came out. And then, of course, a year and a half later, season 2 comes out. But then a year later, season 3. I didn't have to wait a year in between. Don't know what happened there. But this, I don't know if you know the show, but it's about in a world where a pandemic was, it broke out and it killed masses of populations of people. And the sign for you getting sick is when your piggy finger gets twitching. And so we follow this little boy named Gus, and he is, of course, one of the first human-animal hybrids.
Okay.
And a hybrid essentially is a human but born with animal features. So in Gus's case, he's got antlers and he's got deer ears and he's got deer senses. And then there's a few other characters, and mostly, of course, they're all kids because they're only being born. One of them has a nose. One of them has a pig's nose and pig ears. And then there's a whole other bunch of like sea level characters who you'd forget their names, but they're just a big group of kids. And one of them like is a full blown elephant, but a humanoid elephant, and the rest are like kids in animal type costumes. It's a little childish, but it's not camp. It actually deals with some heavy themes, and Gus goes on this adventure, leaving his home that he was raised in the woods with Nonzo Azoni. He's the big, huge guy in... What have you seen him in? Did you see Cinderella with Lily James? You know the big guard? Do you know that guy?
No. It's been like years. It's fine. Just
No. I got this guy, right? This guy. This is like a found father, found son type of show. Yeah. Nonso Anzoni. Let me get a picture of him here for you. Him.
Oh yeah, I know him from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna know him from Sweet Tooth when you watch this. Gus calls him Big Man because he's like 3 times the size of his father, and when you're following him and and they meet up with another the third character of the trio, and then there's other B plots going on, and then there's these military figures who are trying to restore human civilization, and then always they're hunting the human hybrids. And well, I watched the final episode, and while I watched it sort of like, I'm getting ready to just wrap this show up, I wasn't actually prepared of the tear-jerking moments of the final episode, because I actually had a real warm heart and a nice smile, and I got a little teary-eye watching the conclusion of this beautiful show. And it's narrated by James Brolin.
Nice.
It's great. It's a great contribution, and I think overall it was a good show, and it's nice. 3 seasons, 8 episodes each. I think it's something good to watch, and I'd actually really recommend it. And don't think of anything else to say other than I think it stands on its own 2 feet, and it shouldn't be looked over. So I'm gonna recommend Sweet Tooth.
Nice. I'm going to recommend, you mentioned it there a couple of minutes ago, Normal People, starring Daisy Edgar-Jones. It's a limited series based on the book by Sally Rooney. Great show. Absolutely love it. It's about 2 Irish teenagers as they go through the trials and tribulations of love and life.
I watched it not too long ago. Yeah, I think it's the best show to watch when you're at college.
Yeah. I think it makes me nostalgic for a life that I didn't live.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, well, I didn't go through the same things that they did. But yeah.
But you went to college.
Yeah, I went to college, but I didn't go through the same trials and tribulations that they did. That's what I mean, is that...
I can relate.
You know...
I can relate.
It feels familiar without me having ever lived that life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I watched it not too long ago. Because it is a good watch. And I think it's all strong equally within its own right. I don't think it gets progressively better when they graduate and leave school. I think it's
it's consistent throughout.
If anything, it's more dire and sensitive when they're in school, because school sucks.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, Normal People is actually a great choice. I might actually watch it at some point soon.
Yeah, again. Me too. Even though I've seen it already twice. It's like, it's just a great show.
I've seen it twice now.
Thank you, Brian, for joining me for this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. Thank you for listening, dear viewer. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to us on your podcasting app of choice. We're available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube. All of our links to our social medias are down below. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for bonus episodes, make sure to send them in to talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com, and we'll hopefully do that in the very near future. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
Thanks for hosting.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeehaw.